I went from this to this. And if you want to know how to do the same, keep watching. Hi everybody, I'm Lake Uthaya, your Femina Miss India Punjab 2022. I am a model, a content creator, and the pageant coach and founder at my own pageant training institute called Electra. We are currently offering one-on-one sessions which consist of your ramp walk, your posing, your talking, your introduction, your question and answer. I would like to put in the Hall of Fame that 3 Femina Miss India state winners have drafted their opening statements from me. And if you want to also train with me, especially physically, I'm also taking sessions in Bangalore. All of the details are in the description. You make sure to check it out. Along with that, I have a WhatsApp community called Electric 2026, which has over 450 women who answer each other's doubts. It's a beautiful community. If you want to join that, that is also in the description. I had made a makeup tutorial video almost 3 years ago, and ever since then I've been in the entertainment space and I've learned a lot of tricks along the way during shoots, and I thought it's about time I make an updated video. But here's the twist. Unlike the last time, I will not just be talking about the makeup but also giving you a very spicy story time. But I will also be linking all of this in the description so you can check it out for any product information so you can get your hands on it too. Let's go back to the year 2022 when I was announced as Femina Miss India Punjab, which officially changed my life for the better and also made me a Miss World India finalist. And I was not just another finalist, okay? I was on leaderboards across all pageant blogs and pageant pages. The viewers showed me so much love, and the Miss India organization also recognized me for my excellent communication skills and my verbal prowess. I soon moved to Mumbai right after to pursue an acting and modeling career, but my DMs would continue to be bombarded with questions on what to do during auditions, how to do my personal interview right, and I couldn't answer all the DMs, so I decided to start making YouTube videos. The intention was to help, that's it. And in 2023, when queries still didn't stop, I decided to start taking personal guidance session. It was basically like a clarity session where the girls could ask me anything they wanted. It was very successful. I'm pretty sure I trained over 50 girls in the span of 3 months and kind of got into the coaching side of things. Like the pageant industry experts also started to take notice of me. So just like pageant aspirants look up to me because of all the quality knowledge that I provide on this channel, I also had a previous state winner from 4 years ago who used to make YouTube videos that I used to look up to. And she had her own pageant training, which she was operating out of Hyderabad, which she said she was closing down because she was getting married and moving abroad. She sounded all teary on her story, and the thing about me is that I am an empath, which means I feel other people's pain a little more than I should. And it's bitten me in the ass a lot of times. But I just reached out to her and I asked her if I could be of help in any way because I live in Bangalore and I could travel to Hyderabad. I didn't know how, but I just knew that it would be the experience of a lifetime. Since I had already taken some sessions, I was fairly confident in my capacity, and she said yes. And I remember being on cloud 9. Mind you, this is the woman I don't know personally, but just because I watched her on YouTube, I feel immensely grateful for all the knowledge that she's imparted, which actually immensely helped me during my journey in Miss India. We got on several calls, discussed remuneration, travel expenses. Although I was uncomfortable with how much work there was and how little I was being paid, I really just said, whatever, I'm just gonna do this for the experience. And I slogged my butt off for an entire year in the name of experience. I've never discussed this on the internet, but I've been diagnosed with ADHD, primarily in the inattentive type and moderate anxiety, which means taking a flight for me is a pain, all right? But I had to do that twice a month. But it was a part of the job, so I sucked it up. I was the sole teacher. I stayed in a hotel for 8 days and I taught them everything from ramp walk to personal introduction to posing and expressions to stretching and meditation to dancing in heels. There was no logistics person, okay, which meant that I was handling lunch for the girls with the delivery guy. I was making sure I was shooting all the content. ऐसे पढ़ाने के बीच I'd be like, video लेना है. Then I have to run, take videos, make sure I edit all of it and put it up on the stories on the same day, make reels. I was basically handling the social media as well. And after I'd go back, after a 5 p.m. tak, there would be classes, I'd go back and then I would sit, edit, post, I got the Instagram followers to go from 9K when I joined to 26,000 when I left. And this is important information for later. I would be told to post the videos that I was shooting at the training institute on my own Instagram, on my YouTube, so that people would see and it would get more reach and she would get more enrollments. FYI, it messed up with my Instagram reach severely because I used to post relatable content. And suddenly I was teaching girls how to walk, collaborating with a training institute, and then putting that up. So a lot of people started to unfollow me. I still regret choosing someone else's brand over mine. Never again. I decided to resign mid 2024 because it had gotten too much. I was also working a full-time job as an assistant manager at a PR agency, and the 1 week that I would take off would cause so much burden on the rest of my work days, and I also started to sense a slight sense of insecurity, which was masked as superiority, starting to show up in the founder. For example, she would dislike the pictures that were clicked by the entire team, and that included the photographer, the makeup artist, the hairstylist, and me, and it would just be made to feel like we weren't doing enough, even though shoot days would be the longest and the hardest to complete. There would be instances where I would be showing the progress video from day 1 to day 7 of a student, and the only thing that she'd notice is the fact that the standee where she had to be visible was not there behind in the video. She wouldn't want my name to be in the certificates that were handed out to students on graduation day, even though I requested for it, and I used to be the one printing those certificates running around stationery stores in Bangalore. My face wasn't put up on the standee even though I asked for it. Even though the title I was given was pageant coach, I never really felt much of a darja, and in fact, as the time went by, I felt more and more pulled back from her, and I was just really tired overall. If I ever mentioned about the workload, she'd always just say that I used to do it, as if that is like a barometer or the yardstick to how things can be done. But as an entrepreneur, we now know that no one can work as hard as you because it's your baby, it's not theirs. But I did. I tried my best. Now this is where things really took a turn. The contract which I had signed the year before actually stated that there was a non-compete clause, which means I was not going to be able to carry forward the service that I was providing at this training institute for another 2 years. But it is not enforceable in India, which means that if you join Infosys, for example, and after that you leave that company, of course you are going to be a SAP consultant, right? So what else are you going to do? You can't sell chana outside. You will go to like a TCS, which also requires an SAP consultant. So in that way, India does not reinforce this clause. So I was very well aware of it. And I have another rule. Once I leave a project, especially when I put my heart and soul to it, I just mute everybody's stories. So the same thing that I did with her was mute her stories, because I don't want to see what's going on in that organization, because it was a hard decision for me to leave. If things had been better, I wouldn't have. Also, her husband and her best friend, who by the way was also my friend, because I literally took her out to dinner, because as an influencer I get invited to restaurants. So I just didn't want any of them to know what I was doing, because I did not want to be a part of that conversation. I just wanted to move on. After that, I went to a birthday trip to Vietnam in June, and because there was no official announcement that was made about my departure, people still were confusing on whether I'm still teaching, am I teaching with that brand, am I not? And whenever I would be asked, even publicly, I would make sure to say that I am not working with that organization. They can reach out to her personally. Even if I was asked on DM that apparently that lady did not show up for 20 minutes, what should she do? I would tell her, hey, I'm not a part of it anymore. That's it. Not like, oh, but take my services, because there were no services to provide. Although eventually, because I kept getting queries back to back asking if I was still coaching, I started to continue taking the same sessions that I used to take before I joined this institute. But there was this one student, okay? She was an elderly lady, probably in her mid-30s, who came with a lot of insecurities about the way she looks, and she booked a posing and expression session with me. She kept pointing out that she doesn't like how her hand looks in this way, leg looks in this way, and as much as I would try to tell her the technical parts of how a photo should look, she would just be showing selfies and, you know, complaining to me, whatever. It was a very tough session. It happened in the night after I came back from office. I took a compilation of whatever I had taught, some screen recording, some of me, you know, teaching. I put it up on my story. She saw it and she didn't like it. Okay, she's like, ma'am, I don't want this out for the public to see, especially because I've told you how insecure I am. Can you please take it down? I was out of it, okay? I was so tired. I immediately deleted it, reposted that without her clips as I was having dinner, and then I passed out. I did not respond to her message or anything. I did what she asked me to do. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to sleep now. I have a big meeting tomorrow. Here's where things get tricky. I wake up with an email chain which says Lake Uthaiya is a fraud with my surname spelled wrong and my first name. I go on to see that this girl has gone on and complained on me to my previous employer, the lady who I'm no longer associated with, the pageant coach. She's gone on and she wanted someone to vent to. So she's gone on and said, even though that girl took down the pictures or videos, I was really hurt. It felt like a breach of privacy. And I just wanted to let you know because I got to know about her through you. Because you closed coaching again, I reached out to her personally for a session. Firstly, I understand that I should have been more mindful. Now what I do is actually send terms and conditions to everybody who books my sessions. There is a recording notice which says parts of these sessions will be recorded for promotional purposes. And if they have a problem with that, they have to read that email and tell me, because I cannot be held liable after because suddenly they feel awkward being seen on my stories. And I'm also very careful about screening my clients now. Like if I got a vibe like hers now, I would not take that student at all, because she didn't seem like she knew my background. She didn't seem like she was respectful, and she seemed like she just felt very entitled as a customer. But we all have those clients. That's not a problem at all. The problem was that this lady, this founder of the training institute, just needed fodder. So of course she was also probably a little shaken with the fact that I had left, right? And the business that was actually going on the way it was now again going to change. And I can write this down. She would not find a pageant coach as capable as me, who would agree to the terms and conditions and the working conditions and the workload and still try to upkeep and uplift the standards of another brand. And this was just enough to light a fire in that woman. She goes on to respond to that email ID and states that, oh, you know, I'm so sorry this happened to you. I will completely take a legal action against her. I will be using your screenshots for it. I will keep in touch with you for more information. And then the woman finally comes to her senses and realizes that venting and complaining to another lady that she got to know me from was just going to put her into more mess. So she goes on and absolves me of everything. She sends an email clearly stating that no, I did not give you permission to use my email of whatever I've told you. That is also a breach of privacy. Even though she put up that video, she took it down immediately when I told her to. And she states that she no longer is related to your brand, so it does not impact your brand. And she just signs off. But the damage was already done. That woman goes on to her stories and blasts off, calling me names, saying that I'm doing unethical things by secretly lying to people that I'm still working at her institute and taking all the clients. And she shares the screenshot of this girl's first email when she seemed really furious and called me a fraud and said that this girl is not doing something that's ethical, boycott her and stuff like that. I did not see those stories, but I was told by mutuals, because we had quite a lot of mutuals by then, about the same. She even put up a post on her page finally, but instead of being grateful for all the work that I did, which she, by the way, wrote in her email, okay? She did write as a departure email that, oh, thank you so much for all the effort that you put in, and you know, you came at a time when it was really uncertain where this business would be headed, and I felt less lonelier and stuff like that. That was just privately to me. Publicly, after the situation happened, what she actually wanted to put out was that she does not authorize me to take any sessions going ahead, that I'm following unethical practices and I'm spreading false information. She goes on to milk this opportunity even more by putting also stuff on her broadcast channel saying, oh, I feel so terrible for what happened to that girl. Ma'am, is that not a breach of privacy? Because that woman specifically told you not to use that, but then you just want to continue to throw more hate my way. And I did get a lot of hate. For that whole month, a lot of girls started commenting on my posts saying that, oh, you seem like you are keeping quiet because you are in the wrong. I feel so betrayed. How dare you take other people's pictures without their consent? What kind of a professional are you? Yuck. Why aren't you responding? Then she goes on and does something that really pisses me off. She goes on and puts YouTube copyright strikes on the videos that were the same as the one that were posted on her training page. Now, do you remember when I told you that she herself would ask me to post those so that there would be visibility and views? And suddenly after I left, copyright strikes. And the thing is, YouTube took it because it literally looked like I was taking it from her page. And one strike was put, a second strike was also put. Now, mind you, if you don't know YouTube, I'll tell you something. Copyright strikes are a big deal. It's basically like deactivation. Honestly, if a third strike was put and if I hadn't taken down all those videos which actually showed the hard work that I had put in just because I was in that institute, you wouldn't even be watching me here. I wouldn't even have a YouTube video to show you. And at that time, I had like 15,000 subscribers. And that was a big deal to me. I worked really hard to get it. So I just decided to make all of it private. And then I did something really cool. I took out a page from the handbook of Taylor Swift because she did not have access to her own label and her own records from years before. She started to re-record all of her songs and called it Taylor's version, right? Which is why then people started to listen to the whole songs, but in her voice, but whatever. I did the same thing. All the old videos that I had to remove, I just recreated them. I would reach out to a friend to ask for a Zumba clubhouse blockage, in his clubhouse. I would just go travel for 2 hours, go to the studio and just like walk and give as much informative videos as possible. I started posting twice a week, long format, because I hated the entitlement and the way she made an audience seem I was a nobody before her and I will be a nobody after. Just because someone has helped you and someone is coming up in the same profession that you are does not give you the right to shun them. And I did not want the cachet of that organization at all. I did not want to be known through that organization whatsoever. I wanted to create my own name. That's how Electra was also born. Hi, it's officially nighttime. I had to rush to a shoot right after, so I thought I will continue the rest of the video now. I was sent 2 legal notices in the span of 2 to 3 months by the woman, and a few of them were so ridiculous in demands. For example, certain claims were that our client states that you have spread false information about the company's future and have also caused damage to the brand reputation by engaging in services with potential clients. False. Our client contends that your client, which is to my lawyer, has been illegally poaching students of our client for training in pageantry. Clearly false. Your actions have resulted in substantial losses for our client. Compensate our client with 50 lakh rupees, which is loss of profits due to your illegal actions. Oh my God, like you didn't even earn that much, buddy. What are you asking that from me for? There was a cease and desist order, which meant cease, that means stop using any AdWords, any hashtags, or even online content related to pageant coaching services. Take away pageant coaching from anywhere and everywhere. Even though I built my identity around it for you, suddenly I'm supposed to completely strip myself off of that identity. Okay, sounds fair, right? Provide a detailed list of clients that you have served under the name Lake Uthaya. At the time, I didn't have Electra, so I was taking clients with my own name, and she wanted my client list. And this was the scary part. It said failure to comply will result in our client initiating criminal proceedings against you, including filing an FIR. Sure, there are murderers running around freely in the country, but the police will arrest me on the grounds of the fact that I'm using #pageant coaching. Sure, I'm being sarcastic about it now, but at that time, the tensions were really high, especially because I don't come from a family of business. So we've never had to give a legal notice or ever receive anything from the law and order space. So my dad was furious, just being like, why does she put her feet into things that just, mess up the peace, not just for her, but for her parents. And mom would be like praying to all the gods she ever knew, hoping that, this doesn't become as bad as it sounds, because my lawyer would continue to tell me these are just empty threats. You don't have to be worried about it. This is just lawyer language. We all know she does not have anything against you. So I was pretty chill about the whole thing, meaning I would constantly reassure my parents. But yeah, it was just really heavy the whole time I was dealing with it. And the funny thing is, my WhatsApp was always open. I hadn't blocked the person everywhere for her to not be able to communicate this with me, which is what really, really bothers me. The woman, because she lived in a different country altogether, which had completely different hours, would be okay texting me at 2 a.m., at 4 a.m. in the middle of the afternoon, way into the night, just because there was an excuse of time zone differences. Tum apne time pe khol ke dekh lena. I would open my eyes and just see work messages to start off with. Now in hindsight, I should have had a different phone. But suddenly when it came to this, instead of clarifying it with me, it felt really important for her to teach me a lesson. Why? And even though I am 4 years younger than that woman, clearly age is just a number, I ended up writing an email asking her to get on a call and clarify things. An email because it had become a legal issue and WhatsApp usually is not considered as a source of proof. To say, let's just discuss this. If you want, we can have like a mediator in between if you don't want to talk to me directly. No response, as expected. My case was stronger than hers because it was on the grounds of public defamation. And in the year 2025, we stepped into the year, my lawyer said that, we are very close to going to court. And then I told him to just close the case. I just said, you know what? It's a new year. I was getting engaged as well as married that year. And I just said, I do not want to carry this load onto my back. Just close it down. I never said a word against her on social media during the whole trial period or even after, for one sole reason that I operated as a pageant coach. I was not a reality show contestant like in Splitsvilla, where I had to go live and tell my audience my side of the story, and there would be an Instagram war where the students would just like grab some popcorn and go from one account to another to see who's replying and saying what. I've not been a part of reality shows for one simple reason, right? And that is because I enjoy peace. I do not believe in gossiping, and I especially do not believe in tearing women down. I had a bigger following, which meant I had a bigger responsibility. And with that responsibility, I decided to not give any attention to that person. You would never hear that name on any social media profile of mine as soon as I left that organization, because that's what I believe in, right? I believe in focusing on myself, and I believe that I want to be an inspirational person that people look up to and not involve myself in petty high school fights. So here I am, focusing to continue growing my YouTube, which is about to hit 100K subscribers right now, building my own pageant coaching brand, Electra, building my own marriage. And honestly, there are plenty of women online who claim to be a girl's girl and claim to uplift women, but when it comes into situations when they can or when they can amicably sort things out, they just take the road which actually shows their true colors. So you really can't trust people on social media. What happened with me was a witch hunt. And I persevered. And the reason I did not want to pay any attention was because I truly believe in karma. I believe that when you hurt people who have genuinely been good to you, who have done way more than what they should have for you out of goodwill and nothing else, and if you end up hurting them because of your insecurities and your ego, karma will get to you. And karma is a really scary dark color. I'm a spiritual person, and I truly think that it comes back to you in ways that you least expect it. If someone's hurting you professionally, it might show up in their life in any other way, emotionally, personally, physically. But am I someone who's going to sit back and wait for someone's downfall? Absolutely not. I believe in indifference. Because as long as you're hating somebody, you still care about that person. Being indifferent was what I was focusing on. Being so focused with my own life and the beautiful life that I actually truly have, touch wood, and I continue to build for myself, that the other person's hatred just burns them down, not you. So, moral of the story, choose your heroes wisely, and always remember, no matter what you're going through, it is temporary and it does get better. Because what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. Bye-bye.